Hello, you're welcome to my Vivi Creations. So today we want to make a bustier blouse with yoke, okay, and we'll be cutting freehand. So when I say freehand, I mean we are not drafting patterns on paper. We'll be cutting directly on our fabric, okay. So I have my lining fabric here, and this is the fabric for the yoke and sleeve, and this is the African print, okay. So since we'll be cutting directly on our fabric, we would make our markings on the lining fabric, okay, in order to minimize the main fabric. So I have just 1 yard here, okay. So I'll set this aside, then I'll make my markings on the lining fabric, then I'll use it to cut on the main fabric, okay. So to do that, we are going to place our lining piece on fold. Now you need to know how to place your fabric on fold, okay, when you're cutting freehand. There are certain things you need to consider, which is the biggest round measurements plus the dart length and seam allowance, okay. So in this case, we're making a full blouse that would get to the hip. So the biggest round measurement is the hip circumference, okay, which is 42 inches, okay. So we are going to divide that by 4. So 42 divided by 4 will give us 10.5. And the dart intake I'll be using here would be 2 inches, okay. That is the width of the dart, would be 2 inches. And then that is to say 10.5 plus 2, that is 12.5, plus 2 inches seam allowance, that is 14.5. So that means I'll be folding my fabric using 14.5, but let me just use 15 inches, okay. So I would measure out 15 inches, then fold, okay. So this 15 inches, so I would fold from this side. I'll just fold and make sure your measurement gets to the full length of your blouse, okay. So if your fabric is not staying in place, simply pin it down. Yes, simply pin it down so that you would have an even measurement. So you also measure other parts of your fabric to be sure that you have your 15 inches, okay. So that is it. So let me also pin it down at the edge here. So when we have done this, we're going to mark out the starting points. So just going to draw a line at this point. I usually use 1 inch so that I can take my shoulder seam allowance from there, okay. So I usually mark out 1 inch from the top as my shoulder line. So I'll just draw the line. So this is our starting line, okay. This is our starting line. So from this line, I'll place the vertical measurements, which is from the shoulder, we'll mark the bust point, okay. So here the bust point is 10.5 inches. 10.5. The under bust is 14.5. The waist is at 17 inches, okay. Then the full length or the hip is at 24 inches, but the full length of our blouse will be using 25, okay, but plus 1 inch for hemming and everything. Just to be on the safe side, I would use 26 inches, sorry, 26 inches, okay. Yeah, so this is a blouse that would be worn with wrapper will be tied on it, so it is good that it is a bit longer so that the blouse would not be coming out of the wrapper. Yeah, so I'm making this for an elderly person, so it will not be too tight on her, to just be fitted. Okay, so I hope you understand what I mean. So I'm just going to repeat my mark so that I can connect the lines to form straight lines. Okay, so now I'll place the shoulder measurement. So the shoulder is 14 inches divided by 2, that is 7, but I'll add ½ inch for joining the sleeve. So I'm marking at 7.5, and the neck width would be 3.5, and the neck depth would also use 3.5. okay, then we'll step down by 1 inch from our shoulder measurement for our shoulder slope. So I'll connect it to my neck width like so. Okay, so right now place the armhole depth measurement. Okay, so the armhole depth measurement should be placed when you have stepped down, that is when you have created your shoulder slope. Okay, so in this case it is 8 inches. So this is it. By the time you place it, just make sure that the measurement you have here is the same with the measurement you place at the shoulder. So I place 7.5. okay, here it is. So I'll just draw the line, then extend it. Okay, so we can now place our armhole curve. So to place your armhole curve, just place your bust circumference divided by 4 here. So in this case it is 10.5. you mark it. Okay, at this point you just measure what you have here and find the midpoint, then step in by ½ inch. So this is to reduce bulging at the armhole. Okay, so connect it like this and we'll make a curve. So this is our armhole curve. Okay, this is our armhole curve. So now we would take our dart. So to take the dart, we'll place our bust span measurement, which is nipple to nipple divided by 2. Okay, in this case it is 4 inches, but I'll add ½ inch because we'll be joining the center piece to the side piece. Okay, so you add the ½ inch for joining it. So I'm taking 4.5 and I'll mark that all the way down. This is it. So by the time you have done this, now there's a formula that works for everybody, even though you're drafting on paper or you're using freehand. That is what I've always used, and it has worked perfectly well for me when it comes to the under bust tightening. Okay, so what I do is the bust circumference minus the under bust circumference. Okay, so whatever I have, I divide it by 2. Okay, then we know that what we are drafting here now is the front pattern. So remember that this whole measurement we're dividing by 4 here includes the back measurement. I hope you know we measured all round. So we're going to take out that for the back. Okay, so I have a detailed video of this of what I'm explaining here. So let me take it again. The bust circumference minus under bust circumference. Okay, so whatever you have in this case here, we have 6 inches. So from that 6 inches, I'll minus 2 inches, which is for the back dart. So whatever your measurement is, just remove 2 inches, which is for the back dart. Okay, because at the back we would have 1 inch dart on both sides of the back. So remove 2 inches. So whatever that is left, divide it by 2, because the front pattern is folded into 2. That is what you'll be using to apportion your darts here. So let me be practical. My bust circumference is okay, bust circumference minus under bust circumference here is 6 inches. By the time I minus 2 inches for the back dart, I'll be having 4. So that 4 divided by 2 is 2, right? Meaning that the dart intake I'll be using here is 2 inches. So I will mark ½ inch on the center piece and 1.5 on this side. So by the time you have removed 2 inches for the back, whatever that is left, divide it by 2. Okay, place half of the answer here and the remaining on this side. So I hope it is clear. So I'll drop the link to that video in the description so that you watch it. So that is the video where I really explained that intake for bustier. Okay, so I'm marking ½ inch here and 1.5 here. So what it simply means is that we're cutting out 2 inches dart here. Okay, so you can see I'm marking this on the under bust, and I'll do same at the waist and at the hip. Okay, yes, because I like cutting out everything straight the way it is, for that is from the under bust down to the full length of my blouse. So I'll just connect this. So this very method works for everybody, whether you are drafting on paper or you are doing freehand. Okay, so this method works. There are a lot of videos of dart intake. Okay, but this very method works for everybody. This method works for everybody, and like I said, whether you're doing freehand or pattern, that is why I like using this. Okay, so by the time we have done this, now we would connect it to the bust point, but not directly to the bust point. Just step down by 1 inch, because we don't want it to be sharp at this end. Okay, so from the bust point you step down by 1 inch, then you make your curve. You make your curve like so. Just place your French curve and you curve it. Okay, and you also connect this one, and there you have it. So you can just smoothen out this curve, smoothen it out. Okay, so now for our over bust tightening, remember this is a bustier with yoke. Okay, so what we are going to do is measure our shoulder. Okay, just measure the shoulder and find the midpoint. Just find the midpoint. Here is the midpoint. So we'll connect that to the bust point. Connect that to the bust point. Okay, so I would measure where I want my yoke to get to. Okay, so these are bust points, and since I'm not using a transparent fabric, our yoke can come down a little bit. Okay, so I would use 8 inches. Then for the sweetheart, I would step down by 9. That is, I'll come down by 1 inch. So I'll just mark 8 inches per yoke. So I hope this is clear. This is it. So the essence of drawing this line is so that you would know where you would place your dart for your over bust tightening. So for the over bust tightening, I like using half inch on this side and 1 inch on this side. Okay, half inch here and 1 inch here. So when you have marked this, just connect to the bust point. Okay, connect to the bust point, and from here you connect to the bust point as well. Then now you would just blend this. Okay, blend it to meet up with this. And you can see we don't have any pointing at the bust. Okay, so you just blend, and there it is. Now for our yoke, I want a sweetheart neck. Okay, so I'm going to come down by 1 inch here, just by 1 inch here, and I would just blend it into this line. So I'll just blend it into this line like so. Okay, just blend it. So now you can also blend this center piece with the side piece by merging it to see what you have there. Okay, so let's just take it. So that you can just blend it, so you can see how it goes here, so that it will be equal. So I just hope you understand. So this is it. So you just blend it into the armhole. Okay, blend it to the armhole. So now we'll be replacing these darts. This is 1 inch here and half inch here, that is 1.5. We'll be replacing it here. Okay, so that when you cut it out, you won't have shortage. So replace it 1.5 inch. You replace it. Okay, yes. So this will just go this way. So just go this way like this. Okay, so this is the yoke here. So now, because we'll be joining this part to the yoke, I will take out half inch from here as my seam allowance. Then when I'm cutting on my main fabric, I will add 1 inch to this. Okay, so I will mark half inch. So just mark it to that point and go this way. Okay, so now I'll add my shoulder seam allowance. Okay, so I'll add half inch for my shoulder seam allowance, and I'll connect it. So when you add your shoulder seam allowance, please blend it with your neckline. Okay, make sure when you create your neckline, it blends so that you don't have it looking sharp here. Same with your armhole, just blend it. So now we'll create our neckline. Okay, so it's also advisable to add the shoulder seam allowance before you even create your neckline, so that everything will just blend. Okay, and there we have it. So what next is our horizontal measurement. Okay, so we're cutting the yoke, and I'll write +1 inch, so that I will know that I am adding 1 inch to my yoke when cutting it. Okay, so for the horizontal measurement, we already have our bust measurement there. So for the under bust, our under bust circumference divided by 4 is 8.5. So first of all, measure your 8.5, the under bust, then replace your dart. So have 1.5 here and half, that is 2 inches dart. This 2 inches dart. Okay, and have it there. I've not added seam allowance yet. So at the waist, we have 9.25 for the waist. 9.25 plus 2 inches dart Here it is. Then for the hip, we'll have 10.5. 10.5 plus 2 inches that. Here it is. So I've not added my seam allowance. I just want to separate it so that everything will be clear to you. So now we'll just connect this, okay? And all the way to the hip. So here it is. Now I'll add the seam allowance, which is 2 inches seam allowance. So I love using 2 inches because by the time we stitch in the lining, we would have gone in by ½ inch, okay, leaving about 1.5 inches seam allowance. So here is the seam allowance. So here it is, okay? So I believe we have done everything. The next thing now is to cut it out. So first of all, cut out the yoke, okay? First of all, cut out the yoke, then we'll cut out that. Before cutting, I would extend what I have here, okay? I'll extend it so that when I'm cutting it, I'll just go that way. So that is it. So let me just cut it out. So this is what we have. Okay, so I'm going to use this to cut on our fabric, but before that, let's cut the back. Okay, so let's cut the back. So place our fabric on fold again for the back. So for the back, what we are going to use for our back is 2 inches that. So on fold it is 1 inches, it is 1 inch that, okay? So place our fabric on fold based on the measurement we need. The fullest measurement, which is 10.5, and then 1 inch that, and 2 inches seam allowance. Altogether we'll be needing 13.5, so we can fold at 14 inches, okay? So let's do that. So we'll repeat the same measurements, okay? So there are actually different ways you can get the back. You can place your front pattern. You can place your front pattern, but remember zipper allowance, okay? I did not add zipper allowance. So remember, would use 1.5 inches zipper allowance, please. So everything will be 15.5 inches. So I'm marking out 1.5 for my zipper allowance. So I'm using 1.5 because of the intake for lining. I also mark out my 1 inch at the top. So like I said, you can use the front. I have videos where I have used the front pattern to draft the back, okay? So I will show you that now, but let's just mark out the top. So if you want to use the front pattern to get your back pattern, all you simply do is to eliminate the dart. Okay, so you're going to just place this from after the zipper allowance, and you also place this. Okay, first of all, you place your yoke. Then you place this one, and you eliminate the bust by just bringing, that is eliminate the bust, yes, by bringing it together like this. Okay, by bringing it together like this. So make sure this one is after the zipper allowance. So I'm just showing you this in case you want to use the front to cut the back. This is how you place it. But remember, the armhole we have here is because of the front yoke, the bustier and everything. So remember, by the time we add our 1 inch here for joining the two, it will match up like this. Okay, it would we'll have it matching up. Okay, we'll have it matching up by the time we add the seam allowance for the yoke. Okay, so this is why I don't want to use the front to cut the back. So we'll drop the back separately, and the back would also be having yoke. So from here, let's just place our vertical measurement, which is the same thing we placed for the front. Okay, so for the back dart, you place your dart. I'm not cutting out this dart. Okay, I'm not cutting it out, so I'm just going to stitch my dart. So remember, this is the bust point, under bust, waist and hip. Okay, so we are just going to place a normal waist dart on this pattern. So I'll just place my put in nipple measurements, which is 4 inches. So I'm not cutting out anything here. So there's no point cutting it out. Okay, so just create your dart. So since it's a normal waist dart, we'll step up from the hip, the actual hip. Let's take our hip circumference. The actual hip is at this point, okay, 2 inches before the full length. So that is to say, from the full length, I'm going up by 4 inches. So I hope you understand. If this blouse was to get at the hip, the actual hip, we are stepping up by 2 inches from the hip. But because we have extra 2 inches here, I'm stepping up by 4 inches. Okay, so this is where the dart would get to. Okay, and for the top, our dart would get to the chest line. This armhole line is also known as the chest line. Okay, so our dart will get to this point. Our dart will get to this point. Okay, so you come to the waist. Remember, we are taking 1 inch dart, that is ½ inch on both sides. ½ inch on both sides. And we are connecting it. Connect to this point. So let me make sure that this measurement here is accurate. So here it is. Okay, so connect to this point like so, and this point like so. Then we'll do same for this side. So this is just simply the back. So we'll just add our horizontal measurement and our yoke as well. So for the yoke, it definitely has to be like where this one stopped. Okay, so where this one stopped, that is where the back yoke would get to. and that is at this here we have 7.5 inches. Okay, so 7.5. So remember it was 8 inches, so we stepped up by half inch because we added half inch on this side. We took in half inch for joining the yoke and the bodies. Then at the yoke we add 1 inch when we are cutting on the main fabric. So this is the yoke for the back. This is the yoke for the back. Okay, so remember +1 inch. Then for the back, the yoke will just be straight. Okay, this is just what we have for the back yoke. We're not curving anything. This is just what it is. Then we'll add our horizontal measurement. Then we'll create our effect at the zipper area to eliminate zipper bulge. Okay, so connect. So there's something sometimes when you make that effect at this hip, sorry, at this waist, the half inch you're cutting out here, you need to replace it here. Okay, so let's do that. So at this out this your zipper allowance now, at the waist you step in by half inch. You step in by half inch at the waist. Then from there you connect to the chest line, and from here you connect also to the hip. Okay, so just connect it this way. And let's connect to the bust point like so. Connect it to the bust point. Okay, and you connect to the hip or the end of the blouse like so. Okay, so this half inch you're going to take away here. You can replace it here. Okay, you can replace it here. That is actually before the zipper allowance. Okay, this is where we marked, sorry, that is before our seam allowance. So this is actually what our measurement should look like. This is what our measurement should look like before adding the seam allowance. Okay, so ignore this line. So blend it out here and also blend it. Shouldn't be sharp, just go that way. So here now, remember we are adding our seam allowance of 2 inches. So we go this way. I've added that half inch back. Hope you understand what I'm doing. That is from here now, 2 inches is here. Okay, so just connect and back to the hip. So these are 2 inches seam allowance. Sorry, my ruler shifted. These are 2 inches seam allowance. So just go. This is the seam allowance. So whether we smoothen it or not doesn't matter. This is actually the main point here. So I hope you understand this. Okay, so let me just erase this line so I don't get confused. The reason I came out here is because of this half inch dart, the half inch that we are taking away from this side. Okay, so it is very, very necessary because is unfold. When you open it, it means you have taken out 1 inch. So if you don't replace it, it will be tight on the person. So I hope we have done everything. Now it's for us to cut. Okay, so what I'll do now is go ahead and cut out my yoke, then cut out this other side. So as usual, in order to avoid it scattering and shifting, I just love to pin down. So now let me use it to cut on the main fabric. Okay, then I'll show you the next step. So I've cut out the main fabric. Okay, then for the yoke I added my 1 inch and also cut out lining for the yoke because we're using sequence fabric here and the inside is a bit, you know, rough for the skin. So I also did same for the back. Okay, I've cut out the yoke and the main fabric for the back, and this is what we have for the front. So I just want to show you the arrangement. So I had to arrange it such a way that would have a beautiful design. So before I turn it, I would love to mark the good side of my fabric and the wrong side. So this is actually the wrong side, so I don't want to get confused by the time I turn it. Okay, so this is it. So you can see how it is, and our yoke would come in. So the yoke would have lining like I said earlier. So this is it. So by the time we stitch it, the armhole will just match up. Okay, everything will just match up. So I'll go ahead and stitch everything together, but for the yoke I would stitch the lining. So I'll go ahead and stitch the lining and the neckline, turn it, then we'll join it to the bodice and we'll join our lining separately, then use it to finish up the rough edge of the seam between the lining and the main bodice. So let me just do that and you would see. And for the back we'll do the same thing. Okay, so let me go ahead and join it. I'm gonna ahead to cut the wording. Okay, so I just cut it to the under bust, and at the top here I stepped down a little bit. Okay, so I do not affect the yoke. So I measured 1 inch from the center here and 1 inch from each of these sides. Then I cut my wording like this. Okay, so it shouldn't get to the end and shouldn't, you know, get to any part we're going to be stitching. Then one more thing again, if you're going to use lining on sequence fabric like this, it is advisable that you use interfacing under it. Okay, so I've ironed my stay under it, so this is stay, you know, to make it a little bit stable. So now I'll go ahead and put everything together. I will stitch my lining to this, you know, join this together, then join my yoke, then I would stitch the lining piece and use it to finish up the rough edges of, you know, there's a seam allowance between the bodice and the yoke. So let me do that and you'll see it. Okay, so I've stitched this part and you can see what we have here. Okay, so this is it. This is it. So I've notched it. So the next thing is to iron it properly. So iron it from the outer side and from this side as well. Okay, so I'll do that. So now it's now time to join the yoke. Okay, so I've also lined up the yoke, so I'll give it a good press. I've not ironed it, so I'll give it a good press, then go ahead to join it. Then after joining my yoke, I would turn it over. That is, I'll use the lining to turn it over. So I'll stitch the lining to the seam. where I joined my yoke, then turn it. Okay, I would have this one. Then for the back, I've gone ahead to stitch my back. Okay, so here it is. So you can see the back and see the zipper, and that the you can see how we still have that. Okay, so by the time we stitch our zipper, it would, this side will relax, there won't be zipper bulge. Okay, yes, so I'll just give it a good press, fix my zipper, then finish up the front and go ahead to join my sleeve. So let me do just that. I've also stitched my dart, as you can see. So all that is needed now is to give it a good press. So you can see I have joined the yoke. Okay, and this is our bustier, as you can see, nicely curved. Okay, so guys, I would stop here. In another video I would show you how I cut the sleeve. So it's going to be a the balloon, yes, a balloon sleeve. Okay, yeah, balloon puff sleeves, just going to be big, using this same fabric. Okay, the same fabric with the yoke is what I will use to cut the sleeve. Okay, so that is it for this video. Please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't done so, and turn on your notification bell so that you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Okay, like the video for the sleeve, so that you would be able to see the video. Okay, so this is it, guys. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Remain blessed.